As we go along today, what we're going to cover is we're going to cover adding the shadow and the yellow glazing effect that you got in this painting. And I'll show you how we did that right after this. And if you want to learn more about creating for contentment, how you can grow in your creativity and learn to paint beautiful oil paintings just like this, be sure and hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you know when we go live or post a new video, so you can improve on creating for contentment and increase your health and happiness. We got a rise here, so there's going to be some shadow here. There'll be a little bit of shadow where the sun is shining across this cliff here and across here and over these rises. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add that shadow so that it creates that sunrise effect and adds another layer of dimension. Watch how that happens. What we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're just going to add a layer of dark right in here. We want it to be kind of see-through. So you see how that's darkening things a little bit there along that line. We're adding a shadow line there in the painting. And we're just adding a hint of the shadow over the colors. And we just fade that out. So what you're doing is you're just bringing it out till it softly finishes fading out. And it'll be bolder over here because you've also got the shadow of this, and we'll work that in here in a minute. But notice how it's starting to push this area back now because that shadow lip is there. Pulling that perspective more in. And you'll know when you got it right. And this is, like I said, it's an more advanced technique. And there are other ways to do this glazing. And there are special materials you can use. I can use what's called liquid. It's an alkyd, that clear alkyd that I would mix with the paint, and it would create like a glaze. In acrylic painting, you would use a specific glazing medium. And that's what liquid is for oil paints. But you can do the same effect, but I don't want that bold of effect in these areas. Because I don't want that bold of effect in these areas, I'm doing it with the paint thinner. Because see, I gotta do the same thing back here. Just right there at the edge. I just want to kind of give a hint, a little bit of shadow, and fade it out. And as that dries, I'll have to add just a little tiny bit of a paler paint to that because that's just a little too dark for that color. And for this one back here, I may have to use the liquid. because the paint is so thin that it's actually the thinner is breaking down the, it's kind of defeating the purpose. What I got going back there. Have to work it a little bit more. There we go. And color back in. And I'll come back and I'll touch up a little bit of that greens here in the front in a little bit. Right now I'm just adding my shadow effect here that I'm after. A little bit of a shadow line right in there. Now I'll add a little bit of darker one right along this edge here. Now use some more paint thinner. That I put on my palette, the paint thinner's drying out. But we'll just add a little bit of, bring some of that shadow down. And you're just using a very thin amount of your brown and bringing it over your greens. So it kind of adds that shadow to them without actually losing your color, as you can see. And a little bit more thinner out on the palette. Put the lid back on. And now, as I mentioned before, we're going to bring that in more as the just ever so slightly working that shadow in where it would come in and cast. I don't know if you can even see the actual application because I'm putting on such a thin coat. But you probably are seeing the colors dull down. Remember, the lower the sun light source is, in this case because of sunrise, the longer the shadows are going to be. So the longer your, you notice it's just a little bit of a darker tone right through this area here. And you can see the difference specifically in through here. And where it'll really stand out is when I go in and put the yellow glaze on this side. where the sun is actually brighter here and coming through. And we won't notice it as much up here because it's already in the shadow where we painted this area. So we're just kind of doing our ground. All right, and we're continuing. We'll just continually bring this darker area in for your shadows. And every so often you have to dip back in, do a little bit of paint thinner, knock it off your brush. If you get too much on there, it'll loosen up the other paint. It's a tricky step when you're doing this, what I call a natural glazing as opposed to using a glazing medium. It's a lot easier with a glazing medium, and I will demonstrate that in another painting. But this one I want this effect on, and deliberately trying to get this in here, and we almost got too much. Actually, that's going to work just right by the time I get that glazed in. And we'll do the same over here. But it's going to angle more this way because remember the sun is coming through here, so the light will angle more on this side. Always tell them to leave the paint thinner open. And there you have your shadow is now glazed in. If you want, you can add a little bit to this upper structure. I'm going to add a little bit on this side because with the sun coming along this side, it will appear to be a little darker right in here. And I took that into account when I made the color of the background portion here as well, as you noticed. Over a little bit. Just a little bit of a dark. There we go. And it looks like it's time for another roll of paper towels. Put that one over there out of the way. Knock that paint off. We're going to dry off the paint thinner portion in the brown that we had here because I'll need the palette area for the next phase. Now this time I'm going to use just plain yellow, and we're going to do the same effect that we did with the brown. Up, I forgot one spot for the area for the brown. I got that brush right between. Fortunately, I left a little bit of this over here. You go in here, and this has got to be blended a little darker too. Unfortunately, I left just enough of the glaze over here. Let's go back in and do that. Alright, now we're going to continue on with our glazing. We're going to glaze the yellow. And what we're going to do is, because of the way light works, these edges are going to be brighter too. We're going to come right in here and add that yellow to these edges right here. And remember, we're just kind of glazing it in, so it's not going to be overwhelming yellow. Just kind of glazing it in a little bit so that it picks it up. And remember, the sun will be peeking over the top of this thing just a little bit because of the way light works. So you want to make sure that you get your along that edge as well. Just kind of hint at it though, not a lot. Along this edge up here, there's not going to be a lot, but you just want to kind of allude to the fact that there's some sunshine hitting up there. We're going to do the same, just a little bit over here because there's a little bit of sunlight edge right here where the rock tapers in a little bit. Then we're going to go back and we're going to hit the top of these ridges just like so. There's a reason that it's shadowed. Like that. Right in here, we're going to have just a little bit of yellow on this edge too. And now we're going to add in that yellow glazing that I was talking about. And this yellow will brighten things up just a little bit past our shadow. Remember, we're alluding to light. We're not actually applying that much in the way of color. I just want to kind of hint that it's coming through there. And switching things out a little bit. Now your shadow line, you notice it's kind of harsh in there, and you want kind of a harsh shadow line. What you don't want is a harsh yellow line. You notice I'm pulling that back out after I thinned out the, use a little bit of the thinner, and go back in here and pull some of that yellow out. Clean that brush out a little bit. Now one thing, as you get more advanced, that you may want to get in the habit of doing if you're doing a long session of painting, and especially with oils you can get away with this. If you don't want to take time to do a lot of cleaning, you can just do a preliminary cleaning like I'm doing, and then just grab a dip. If you're using your darks and switching to lights quite often, just swap, have two of the same brush, and swap back and forth with the brushes that way. One dark paint, one light paint. All right, we're going to add just a little bit more yellow right in here now to bring this up the rest of the way. And how we're going to do that is we're going to now that this has had a chance to just add some more bright yellow, and it's pure yellow. There's no green mixed with it this time. And we'll just add some more yellow highlights in there. It's not. Of the raw color you want, because your painting is dry enough. You just knock the color you don't want off, and then come back into your proper color again. Grab what you want. Alright, and we just add a little bit of texture in here. So that adds a little bit of volume to the painting, a little bit of depth. Make sure you catch your edges of your leaves on out here on the outside edge. That one needs a little bit more color. Okay. Right here of definition. Here. There. Yeah, that did it. There we go. I know it looks strange, but one of the things that you do when I'm looking off over there, I'm actually looking at what another camera is capturing that you'll see brought in every so often when I'm working over here. But what it does, it works the same effect as if I had a large mirror behind me. And sometimes you'll see in an artist studio where they go in and you'll walk in and there'll be a mirror on a stand or a big wall of mirrors and stuff. Because you look at it, it gives you a different perspective and lets you see your depth so that you know what you need in a given spot to give that final pop and texture that you need in your artwork. So if you're doing this at home and you're practicing, if nothing else, get you a little hand mirror. It doesn't have to be any bigger than your phone, but then turn away and just look over your shoulder at your painting and move it around so that you know. And you'll get a different perspective, you get a different view of it. It's the same principle as if you're working on something on a project this big and you just walk away. Those are tips that you need so you know whether you've got what you need, where you need it. One last thing we're going to do now is we're going to take a little tiny bit of thinner, not very much, because I don't want much on this. I'm going to take a little bit of the yellow that I haven't got anything in yet. And I'm going to add just a little bit of darkening of the yellow here. Now what I'm going to do to that yellow is I'm going to go over here into my white. I'm going to get just a little bit of white. I think it's going to be that. Okay. I'm going to tone it down just a little bit with some white in it. But it'll make it darker than what we've already got over there. That'll be our sun just starting to peek up over the edge there. So it's not too harsh, but it's not too. But it's enough to start casting this light as we were talking about. A little more of this. I want to make this line just a little more obvious right here. And there we have Sunrise Mesa. Southwestern Sunrise Mesa is actually the name of the painting. Complete and ready to dry and to get ready for the art competition that this painting was developed for. Hope you enjoyed watching today and watching all along the series of these paintings as they came together. If you want to learn more, you'd like to learn how to make beautiful paintings like this, I'm going to be doing step-by-steps as I go along, as well as lives that you can follow along with or just watch and learn from. Be sure and click the subscribe button. Hit the little bell notification so you know that when we go live or we upload another segment of a video teaching you how to oil paint like this and increase your creativity. Most of all, be sure and continue to create for contentment. And you be sure and have fun.